Hi everyone. Bonsoir. Bonsoir la société. Bonsoir, bonsoir. I hope everyone is doing well and splendidly today. Hi Angelica. Many blessings. Just gonna give a few moments here for the announcement of the live to go out and about. Hello everyone, gracias a la misericordia. I hope everyone's doing awesome and splendidly well. Gracias a la misericordia. Today, I wanted to talk about the significance of Gran Bois. Gran Bois. He's a loi, he's a misterio. And I'm holding this up like this so that you can hear me more clearly. Hope everyone is doing well. Before I get into that, if you would like to donate to these lives, as many have, and thank you guys to everyone who has donated to the lives, you can do so via Cash App, cash symbol Hector Salva, or via PayPal help@mysticalwork.com. Today we're discussing Gran Bois, which is the Misterio of the Woods. He's the loi that owns the woods. He is the Misterio of incredible importance within the Vodou tradition, within La 21 Divisiones, Gran Bois. Yes, I am. Hi, Randy. Very, very busy. Been trying to get on here and do a live as often as possible, Trying to get on here as often as possible. Hi, Vicky. We always doing our best. So, I hope everyone's doing well. Today, I want to talk about Gran Bois, the Misterio of the Woods. He's a very important Misterio within the 21 Divisions Vodou traditions because herbs and the magic of the herbs are very important in our work. I would say one of the most important tools in the Vodou are the herbs. Hi Kay, hope you're doing well. One of the most important tools in the Vodou are the herbs. And Gran Bois is a loi petuo. He's a petro loi. He's a loi that rules over the woods. He's a loi of the herbs. And there are a number of lois. Hi, darling. Hi, darling star. There are a number of lois that work with Gran Bois. Many lois work with Gran Bois because Gran Bois is so important. He's so integral and essential in our tradition. A lot of spiritual workers and spiritualists find themselves very much attracted to herbs and to nature and to the woods. I have one goddaughter of mine. She spends lots and lots of time in the woods. God bless her. She has a specialty for that. But Gran Bois is a very important misterio. And Gran Bois is a misterio that here in the US we don't hear about as often or as commonly, right? Hi, Elisa. Hope you're doing well. It's not a misterio that we don't hear of as commonly or gets mentioned as commonly. He's a petro misterio and he's really important. And when I was living in Haiti, so for those of you who don't know me, know that basically after my initiation, I spent several years living in Haiti. And I spent years studying with Hungans and Mambos and training and developing myself. And when I was living in Haiti, one place that I lived and one of the Hungans I was training with, Hungan Montil, he was a servant of Gran Bois. He was a servidor of Gran Bois, servite of Gran Bois. And Gran Bois was a really important loi in his house. So it was a loi. I was actually living in that laku, meaning in that compound. So he was a loi that I got to interact with and meet quite a number of times. Grand Bois, whose name actually means big wood or big tree, okay, is a loi that is very commonly worked with in all types of work in Vodou for healing in all sorts of forms. Okay. And thank you, darling. And one how he had his Grand Bois set up was there was a big mapu tree. It was a silk cotton tree. And around that tree, they had built a fence. Around the base of that tree, they had built a large fence. And you would enter that fence, and that tree was adorned and tied with fulas or mouchoirs. It was tied up with the mouchoirs of Grand Bois. It had tools that belonged to Grand Bois hanging from its branches. It also had its jakut, or its makuto, hanging from the branches. And when he would go to work with Grand Bois, we would enter that space where Grand Bois' altar was located, which was that tree. That tree, and he would go ahead and he would sit with his cha-cha and his bell, campana, his bell in English, yeah, bell. And he would call his loi Grand Bois. A lot of time when Grand Bois manifested, Grand Bois has a tendency that he jumps up in the air. So sometimes Grand Bois would manifest and the Hungan would just go jumping and jumping and jumping at first, and spinning and jumping and spinning and jumping. And Grand Bois would come and he would give out the recipes of what people needed to do, or he would make herbal treatments himself. And he would make herbal treatments, and he would also give the Hungan the knowledge of how to prepare the bottles. Bottles meaning bottles with tinctures and herbs and roots, so that you could go ahead and take that medicine. In fact, when I was learning Vodou back then, I haven't seen this as commonly, though I have seen it in my own lineage, where certain lois drank from certain prepared bottles, and those bottles were prepared with certain roots and herbs. And those, it wasn't just always give the loi straight rum. There are certain roots and herb bottles that were given to the loi. And there were certain roots and herb bottles that are used by the Caballo de Misterio or by the Shual, the Hungans and Mambos, that keeps us in health. Many people are unaware of basically us as Hungans, Mambos, people who are horses. It takes a lot of fuerza, a lot of force, and dries out a lot of fuerza. And so we have certain medicines that we take in order to make sure that we're healthy and running really, really well. Okay? Oh, no worries, Mambo J. Hello, hello. And so we had certain herbs and herbal drinks that we drink. And those bottles are really important because they give the horse, they give the person the strength and the recuperation of those energies in order for, the horse to keep on doing the work that the horse does. So Grand Bois is a really important loi. And in fact, when in Haiti, when we go collect the leaves, meaning we go into Grand Bois, We go into the woods to go collect the herbs. There's a whole ceremony that goes into getting those herbs. It's not just a one, two, three, let's go rip up some herbs out the ground. Okay? It's a process. And in that process, the drums are often playing, and the initiates gather, and they go into the woods with baskets and sheets and cloths. And when they come out, right, they come out singing with the herbs in sheets, tied up in sheets or in baskets held on their heads. And what you'll see is oftentimes you'll see those people go saule. They start to get kind of like dizzy or drunken with the spirit, because those herbs collected with the blessings and strength of Gran Bois are filled with the fuerza, are filled with the force. And that force will, get people like, whoo, drunken with the spiritual force and with the energy. And then they bring it inside the temple. And bringing it inside the temple, okay, there's a ceremony that goes along with that. And when it's time for the pile fe means to crush the leaves, right? There's a ceremony in which the drums are playing, and there's usually two mortars, depending on what the herbs were collected for. But at least once a year, often there's two mortars, and those mortars are the size of a small child, and they're really, really heavy. And some of the initiates will sit on sheets and strip the herbs. They're stripping the herbs from the stems, while other initiates are there mortaring the herbs. And they're mortaring and pestling, whatever you want to call it, machucando, right? They're crushing up the herbs in a rhythmically with the sounds of the drums. The pestles that they use for those herbs are about 6 foot, 7 foot tall, and that round. And they're just huge pestles. And they're singing, they're dancing in union, turning. And the two people working on a mortar are turning as they pestle these herbs. And throughout that time, while that's happening, Lua will come to bless the herbs. Lua will come to give strength to the herbs. And sometimes you'll see the Lua, we put the mortar on its chest. The Lua lay down and the mortar is on its chest. And that mortar weighs a good, at least 100 pounds, because it's made from the trunk of a tree. And they're just mortaring and pestling them herbs. And over time, various drinks will be sprayed over the herbs. Sometimes fire is lit in that mortar and pestle, and those herbs are continuously getting crushed. As that's happening, you have someone who's there who's basically taking piles of the herbs and sifting it into powder. Sifting out the powder and tossing back the larger pieces of herbs. And they're sifting and they're sifting and they're making the powders that we use in our work. Okay? Hi Trish, definitely and yes, Mambo J. And we can definitely talk about that. Hi Marie. So as we do that, we're sifting, and we're creating the powders. And a lot of times, if you work with the spirits, you're going to want to have two mortars and pestles. One is what we call the bitter one, and one is the sweet one. You want a sweet mortar and a bitter mortar. The reason is that certain herbs, when you crush them, okay, like anything, and like a mortar, if it's natural and it's wooden, it can absorb things. you don't want to mix these two different types of herbs. So a lot of temples, they have a sweet mortar and a bitter mortar. Okay? So they work with this bitter mortar and this sweet mortar, crushing up all the herbs and making our powders. And very often this ceremony happens and they make enough powder to go throughout the year, right? Because it is such a large undertaking, enough powder gets created to go throughout the year. And so the powder is made, and this powder is usually distributed amongst initiates, members of the household, who all came together to make that powder. And there are various powders that we make, right? Various powders that we make that are major powders and herbal powders that we use in our tradition. Now, someone here, Mambo J, mentioned about people going to the woods and leaving offerings, right? And giving them in non organic or plastic containers. When you respect the loi, you have to respect nature, because the loi inhabit nature. They inhabit nature, in fact, more strongly than they inhabit the city. Okay? The loi is close to nature. In fact, if you look at all the loi, all of them are connected with nature or some type of natural event in one way or another. Okay? In one way or another, you find that they're attached and connected with nature. So when you serve the loi, it's very important, and I've even seen this happen in the island, where people go make services and they disrespect the nature. And you can't do this and be good with the mystery. You can't go into Gran Bois, which is his home, okay? You can't go into the woods to serve Gran Bois and then disrespect his home. Same thing, like you can't go into the sea or to the ocean to serve La Sirène and then leave a bunch of plastic bottles and crap there, right? In fact, you would be better off serving them by cleaning up their location than by actually leaving an offering. Grand Bois is one of these lois that he's not really an indoors type of guy. He prefers his altars to be outdoors. You can have a space for him indoors to honor him, etc. But he's a loi that he likes to be outdoors because he's a loi of nature. He's the loi of the woods, right? So when you're making services for Grand Bois, it's important that you go into the woods and make these services, okay? I'm going to give you a song. Kind of got to get it in my head. Senambois, Senamboye, Senambois, Senamboye. Si mwen men n'exazim, pa montre moun kay mwen. Si mwen montre moun kay mwen, ya di Senambois vite. Senambois, Senamboye, Senambois, Senamboye. Si mwen men n'exazim, pa montre moun kay mwen. Si mwen montre moun kay mwen, ya di Senambois vite. That song says, it's in the woods. It's in the woods that I'm at. If I, Negzazi, which is another punto, another zetual, another Grand Bois, if I, Negzazi, tell people where I live, people will go and say that I live in the woods. Remember, as I've been doing these lives, I tell you that much of the wisdom of the Vodou, of the 21 divisions, is right there in our songs. And in this song, what he's saying is that some secrets need to be kept to yourself, right? He's saying, I don't tell people where I live, because then they're going to go and talk mess. I don't tell people where I live because then they're going to know where my secret is located, right? And this is very important, especially for initiates, because during the process of initiation, there are certain secrets that are given to each initiate, and including certain locations, right? And these are not places, these are places that are important for you, but these are not in places that you're like, oh yeah, that's my place, okay? Because these are your secrets, and it's there that people can come in to create all types of mess for you. So if I, Negzazi, don't show people my house, if I, Negzazi, don't show people my house, because if I show them my house, they will talk mess. They will say that I live in the woods, okay? It means that not everyone should come into your house. Not everyone should be given entrance into your house. Not everyone should be given entrance into your secrets, into what you do. Sometimes, especially now with the internet, there is very much a common thing where everyone wants to show everyone else everything. They want to show, I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. And just to give you an example, someone told me, I believe it was Mambo Sandy who told me about someone that they knew, right? And they would post everywhere where they were at. Everywhere they went, they're like, I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. And one day they posted where they were at, and their enemy showed up there because their enemy was following them on that Instagram. Okay? Their enemy showed up there and killed them. It's not good. It's not good for you always to let everyone know every last little move you're making. One of the things that we teach spiritually in magic, in our tradition, in our work, okay, is that it's best sometimes that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Keeping it private, right? Why? Because sometimes the left hand will go to try to destroy what the right hand is doing, okay? Everybody doesn't need to know all your business. So it's a thing in Vodou, and if you want to succeed, to learn how to keep secrets, okay? You have to learn how to keep secrets. Another song that reminds me of is Silves a mi foguem secret, Silves a mi foguem secret. Gran shememoa, ativon pale pale osa. Gran shememoa, ativon pale pale osa. Silves a mi foguem secret. Silgens ami fogens secret, gran shememoa, asivon pale paleosa. That's a Gran Shemen song. Of course, we're talking about Gran Bois. But that song says, if you want to have friends, you need to know how to keep secrets. And that's included with the mysteries, with the spirits. A lot of people don't understand that the same way that you may not have trust or faith in the spirits don't always have trust and faith in you. And if you want to develop the depth of that relationship with your spirit, you need to know how to keep secrets. If you're doing magic or you're doing something big in your life, keep it a secret. A lot of things that I do, no one knows about them until they're already said and done. Once things are already said and done and you can't mess it up, that's when I let everyone know. Oh yes, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. I don't let people know what I'm doing until it's done. And this is one of those basic magical rules. Okay? Whether you in this tradition or that tradition or this tradition or that tradition, one of the basic magic rules is keeping secrets. Nobody needs to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. That's why we say le mare point fait secret. When you're tying something up, keep it a secret, right? Because it's how you tie it that another person can come learn to untie it. Okay? Keeping a secret. I'm going to tell you, I'm so good at keeping secrets. I've been doing it my whole life, right? I'm so good at keeping secrets. I got to give myself a pat on the back, okay? Because there's many things that I could say about many individuals that I know that would turn people's worlds upside down. All right? But I'm not messy. I'm not a messy hoe. Okay? Keeping secrets is really important in spiritual traditions. And in fact, not being able to keep a secret is often good enough reason to get yourself smacked or get yourself tossed out of somewhere, or never to be allowed to really enter the depth of the work. I'll give y'all a little tidbit without revealing the secret. Many of these lois that you know, their real names are secret. That's why many of these lois don't always respond, because you're not calling them by their real name. And if you're a magical practitioner, you understand the importance of the true name of something. If you don't have the true name of something, okay, you can't reach it. It will not respond to you. That's like me calling you Jeffrey, but your name is Carmen. Are you going to answer? No, you're not going to answer, right? And many of these lois, the name that's publicly out there is not necessarily their name. Many of these lois have secret names. And they know when someone calls them by that name, that they know that person. It's just like there are certain people in your life who are close enough to you, or your family members, that they might call you by your family name, your nickname, a certain secret name that people have, right? People who've known me for a long time, people who know me from here, there, and everywhere, they call me Mach, right? That's a nickname that I was given. So if someone calls me that, I know how they know me. I know where our connection is at, right? And I know where we stand with each other. And it's the same thing with the misterios. It's the same thing with the loi. They don't just give everything to everybody, right? And it's a process. And it's a process in which even the person who's teaching you, they have to receive permission from the spirit before they can give you the secret name of the spirit. It's not just like, oh, you're initiated and you can be given it. That's not how it works. Spirit doesn't care about your initiation. Sit tight. If you feel some type of way, oh well, feel it. They don't give a damn. Your initiation doesn't mean that they can trust you with their secrets. Two different things, right? And so the lois are very wise. This is why I often say, like, we don't require Vodou police. A lot of people like to go out into these communities and act like they are the police of Vodou, that they are the police of the loi. Sit down, darling. Okay? Sit down. The loi don't need your protection. You need their protection. Okay? The loi don't need any police. Guess what? Because they know how to whoop. And if they need to whoop somebody, they figure it out. They'll whoop. Okay? They don't need nobody to go ahead and protect their name. Yeah, we've seen in our Vodou traditions and our 21 divisions, we've seen a lot of ugliness, a lot of myths, misinterpretations, and that can be upsetting for some spiritual servants. But I don't need you to come over there and fight the battle for you, for them. You need them to fight the battle for you. Okay? They know how to take people out of here like that. And I've seen it. I've lived it. The Loa can more than well protect themselves. Okay? There's another song that says, Ae oh, c'est pas fait, moi chercher, c'est la vie m'a cherché. Al grand bois, chercher fait. Moi al grand bois, al chercher fait. Moi al grand bois, al chercher fait. Ae oh, c'est pas fait, m'a cherché, c'est la vie m'a cherché. And that song says, I'm going to the woods to look for leaves. I'm going to the woods to look for leaves. Ae oh. I'm not going to look for leaves. It's life I'm looking for. Life in Vodou corresponds with energy, corresponds with luck, corresponds with everything that is good. So you're going to Gran Bois to look for leaves, but you're not looking for leaves, it's life you are looking for. In Vodou, you will see a lot of times we mention the words life, la vie, okay? Because it's life that you're looking for, the energy of life. Things that my students know we often refer to as the life force, the la fuerza de la vida, okay? Life force, the force that creates life and that makes life happen, right? So the herbs and the leaves, these are really important tools, okay? Personally, I'm not a botanica brujo. What do I mean by that? Is there's many brujos out here that they work mainly using supplies from botanicas and commercial goods. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Those things can work. But I'm a little bit old school, and we are brujos that work very much with the leaves because the leaves are essential in our work. And if you go to many of the African based traditions, what you're going to find is the importance of the herbs and the leaves. With herbs and a few leaves, you can do way more often than what you can do with the commercially bought products, where you may need way more commercially bought products to make up for lacking the herbs and the leaves. Now, if you're residing in the US, and depending where in the US you reside, it may not always be easy for you to go out to the woods and get yourself some fresh herbs, right? Sometimes we have to go get them in a botanica, sometimes because that's the options we have available to us. Sometimes we have to go get them in a grocery store. Sometimes we have to get them dried. We can't get them fresh. Sometimes there's many things, right? However, oftentimes, like if you live like in Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, a lot of those hot places, a lot of times you can get our tropical herbs by going out into the woods and getting your leaves. When you go into the woods, you need to pay respect to Grand Bois. You need to pay respect, ask for permission, and pay your respects to Grand Bois for letting you come into his space. And you need to ask him for permission to pick his leaves. Otherwise, okay, you might find that your leaves contain very little vitality. Number two is if you are in the US, I know a lot of us are really busy. I'm really busy. Busy, 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 busy. So I personally don't have time to do this. However, some individuals do have the time, and if you have the time, it's a great thing to do. And I'm actually working on it little by little myself. I usually suggest that anyone in our spiritual traditions keep some type of herb garden. It doesn't have to have everything, but keeping some of the major herbs that we use, the herbs that we most commonly use, will be helpful to you, especially when you're doing the work. Fresh leaves are usually preferred over dried ingredients. Some of the herbs that you may want to keep in your herbal garden include, but are not limited to, basil. Basil's a big one. Rosemary, another big one. These are generally pretty easy to grow. These are not difficult plants to grow. I'm giving you the easy plants to grow, right? And rosemary, basil, garlic, okay? Because the herb of the garlic is very powerful outside of just using the actual garlic bulb, right? Dandelion, something that a lot of you guys consider a weed, right? And many people do a lot to get rid of. Dandelion. I always feel bad for dandelion. It's really one of my favorite herbs. It's so cute too. And it gets so discriminated. Everyone wants grass, right? But dandelion is another powerful herb, right? It's very powerful. Very, very resilient, very powerful, very useful. Okay? Very useful in our work. And you may not know this. Here's a little tidbit for you. Dandelion can be used in domination work. Dandelion is used in domination work very often, right? So dandelion is another. Here in my yard, mugwort. Mugwort grows wild here where I live. My yard is filled with mugwort. Cotton. We have a few cotton plants not that far away. Mint. Mint is a big one. We use mint often. All the different types of mint are very beneficial. Okay? Here we also have red clover. Red clover, white clover. These plants are very medicinal and can be used to prepare a number of different medicines. Right? Now we have this cinnamon plant that's different than the cinnamon that you get here. We call it canelita, means like little cinnamon, but it's a cinnamon that has like a slightly sweet smell to it. It actually comes as a plant, right? If you're in one of those locations where you can grow hot herbs, or maybe you have a greenhouse, maybe you can try growing some abre camino, some open road herb, as well as some silk cotton. I have a godson. He has a small baby silk cotton tree. And because of where he lives, it's never going to get very big. However, he has the tree, and he's able to harvest from it and take from it when needed. The silk cotton tree is a very important tree, very important herb in many of our works. Many of our works and many of our traditions, it's an extremely important tree. If you live somewhere, again, more tropical, you can try to grow mango and banana plant. These are very good things to have available to you, right? They're very strong herbs that can be used in a number of different ways. Here in the north, generally I'd say, most herbs that people use in cooking, basil, bay, etc., are generally not that difficult to grow. And if you live in a place where it's really cold, because this is what I'm thinking of doing, I would make an herbal box, a box in which to grow those plants on the inside. You can make a box, a wooden box or a plastic box, right? And actually have it like a little garden area there on the inside. A lot of these herbs are good to have on hand. And another great idea to have is to actually grow some flowers, all the various types of flowers. Anyone who keeps an altar knows how important it is to keep regularly the flowers on the altar. And there's nothing saying that your flowers cannot be naturally grown wildflowers. That's how it always was in the ancient day. We didn't get to go pick up bouquets at Walmart. So if you can grow flowers and give them to your misterios, wonderful, great, great, okay? Another thing that grows in many cold places is potatoes. Potatoes are used in our work. So many places you can grow potatoes quite easily without much effort. Here where I'm at, what we call wild carrot or Queen's and I think it's called Queen Anne's lace also grows here naturally in the wild. We also have wild garlic here, grows everywhere. All these things are very useful to the spiritual worker to have on hand. And there's many other herbs that you could use to have on hand if they grow near to you. Rue. Another one is good as rue. Rue is kind of at the end of the season currently, but if you can get yourself a small starter plant or some seeds or you have a greenhouse, keeping some rue is very good. When I was growing up, we had rue at every window in my grandmother's house. And each one of those rue plants were prepared for protection so that nothing negative could enter into the house. Every window had a rue bush. And very few people know that rue, you can grow it to the point where it's like a huge bush. It's like a huge bush, really tall and huge. And it's a really strong smelling plant. It's wonderful smelling, actually. I love it. And it's very powerful. It's one of these herbs that we refer to as double action, right? Because it has the capacity to remove bad while attracting good. So these are just some of the few basic plants, and I'm sure there's many, many, many more that I can't think of right off the top of my head right now that you could grow wherever it is that you're at, right? In order to have on hand to do your spiritual work. And when you're doing that, when you're planting your garden, okay, feed the earth. Feed the earth, feed the Loire, give Gran Bois a little service there in that spot so that it knows that that's what that's for. And so the Loire can bring about abundance and prosperity. One year, we had someone brought a little baby mint plant for cousin. And I planted it where I intended to grow the herb garden that I never got to. We planted it with the proper service and the proper way it was supposed to get planted and all. Even to this day, that whole side of the house is filled with mint. The mint overtook everything. And they would mow the mint down and mint comes back up. And the whole side of the house is filled with mint. So these are all good things to keep on hand, keep on deck if you're doing spiritual work, because a lot of these herbs are multifaceted, can be used in many different ways, and are common ingredients in our work. And having it right at hand can be used quickly and easily in any type of emergency. My grandmother we actually used to also grow anise. Okay, so anise, the thing that tastes like licorice, black licorice, we used to have a huge anise bush in our yard. We used to have what we call brown basil, white basil, and regular basil. We used to have basically lemongrass. Lemongrass is another good one, and lemon balm. And lemon balm and lemongrass have slightly different uses. Okay? Lemongrass and lemon balm, especially lemongrass, is quite protective. It's a protective herb. Growing that is really good. Another thing that I always tell everyone is have an aloe plant. An aloe plant is extremely useful, aside from for cuts, burns, and scrapes and everything. But an aloe plant has many uses in our work and in the spiritual work. Aloe can be used for all different types of recipes. So, I hope that you enjoyed this live and learned a little bit about Grand Bois, his mysteries, as well as the importance of what he represents and who he is in our tradition. Grand Bois is essential in our work, and whether it's in the Vodou tradition of Haiti or the 21 divisions, he's a big component in the initiation. He's a big component. It's a big step. It's something important that we go out to seek, that we do within the initiation, because within the woods, many secrets are held. And you guys are most welcome. You're most welcome, Star and Marie. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this live. As always, like, follow, comment, share, right? And feel free to leave a comment of any other topics that you can think of that you may want me to cover. Share if you care and share if you dare. We encourage share, 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 share with your friends and everyone else, right? Let's get our mission out there. As always, if you'd like to donate to the lives, we accept them via Cash App, cash symbol Hector Salva, or PayPal, help@mysticalwork.com. Thank you guys to everyone who's donated to the lives already. Thank you guys for all of your support and taking your time here with me to spend time in discussing these foundational things in our tradition. Many blessings to all of you. Until next time, keep the faith.